Clownfish. Because Clownfish is actually going to bring up sources for us to examine. So so that will be good. All right, let me pull this up, and I'm going to preemptively come over here because I have a feeling Geeky's going to be here, and it's the rules. I cannot block Geeky. So, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So, let's do this.
All right, guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And because we know you can't go another day without a Snow White video, we're going to bring you another Snow White. We're going to bring you another damn Snow White video. We're going to talk about the fallout from Snow White. In this case, there is an alleged Disney insider who talked to the Daily Mail, I guess, and said that...
Hey, is the volume really low for you guys?
They're doing a purge of woke, quote unquote, woke content
in
Hollywood currently, which actually does.
All right, hang on. Let me see if I can fix this audio. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. Hello? Okay. All right, give me 1 second here. Let me see if I can fix this.
It does track. I mean, if you look at the stuff that's getting walked back, you look at the stuff that's getting canceled, you look at the projects that are not performing. Yeah, studios they're afraid. They're afraid.
Mm-hmm. I'm 100% sure this is true.
Okay.
That's getting walked back. You look at the stuff that's getting canceled. You look at the projects that are not performing. Yeah, studios they're afraid. They're afraid.
Should be good now. I think. Hopefully, I'm not all fucked up now. Okay. Am I good, chat? I'm not delayed or anything, right? I'm good? All right. Let's do it.
Right. In this case, there is an alleged Disney insider who talked to the Daily Mail, I guess, and said that they're doing a purge of woke, quote unquote, woke content in Hollywood currently, which actually does track. I mean, if you look at the stuff that's getting walked back, you look at the stuff that's getting canceled, you look at the projects that are not performing. Yeah, studios are.
Well, studios are finally saying, we can't keep losing money like this. We cannot keep losing money hand over fist like this. That's what studios are saying. The accountants are finally going to the CEOs and saying, guys, this ain't working. Thank you, Grey Wolf. Yeah, well, Balmage's that probably too. They want their interest payments. You know, they want their interest payments back. You are undoubtedly correct on that also.
They're afraid. They're afraid.
Mm-hmm. I'm 100% sure this is true.
Yeah, so let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you'll get
That's
a
okay,
woohoo
Falcon.
if you do.
Woohoo!
And yeah, we've been covering this because that's the one constant that we've seen. Like every time they announce they're canceling stuff in Hollywood, streaming shows or movies or pivoting or whatever, dumping people or canceling their deals, 9 times out of 10, it is like Tumblr fanfic looking stuff that they're getting rid of.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't perform.
No.
Well, leave us not for God's sake, leave us not forget that Disney is not only putting out shit, they're also struggling to even put shit together. Look at what's happening with the Blade movie. They've lost yet another director on the Blade movie. Like, at this point, they need to just fucking cancel the shit. But the entire Blade movie at this point needs to just be canceled. Oh, excuse me. It needs to just be canceled. But this is the stuff that's going on with Disney. They are not only putting out shit, they can't even put together shit, and that part's costing them money too. All of these delays that they've had with Blade, with all the different changeovers in personnel in terms of like actors and staff and things like that. Like, LaRock, I saw an article fairly recent. I thought it was too. But I thought I'd seen an article that said they lost yet another director, so I don't fucking know. But think about how many years were they working on trying to put Blade together? All of that cost money. They had to pay their actors, they had to pay their scriptwriters, they had to pay their director, they had to pay their producers. All of that just trying to put the fucking thing together. And I don't think they even went through, I'm not even sure if they went through principal photography yet before everything just fucking died. And it's just the fuck. Jack, I think they went through 4. I'm pretty sure they went through 4 different directors. But this is one example. Just one example of how Disney is just losing money. There was another Clownfish we haven't watched it. Clownfish put out a video a day or two ago. I never got a chance to watch it. I was going to watch it on stream actually, but I forgot about it. That I guess they're no longer doing Rey anymore with Star Wars. The whole thing about bringing Rey back may be done. I don't know. Maybe Neon and Geeky will talk about this during this video. But yeah, Disney, I think, is finally starting to figure out, we don't have an endless supply of money. Maybe we should actually get back to trying to make money instead of trying to please a non-existent modern audience. Or maybe the accountants finally said, Disney, get your shit together. You're not going to be around too much longer if you keep this up.
No, people are over it. And I think the stuff that you're seeing now that's coming out, like Snow White, they're flushing it out of the system. It's too far along in the production pipeline, but they got to get rid of it. But I think 2 to 3 years from now, you're going to see a lot different content.
It's like when you're sick and you have a stomach virus, and until you puke it and poop it all out, you don't feel better.
So we have to poop and puke out all the Rachel Zegler content.
Oh, chat. I'm seeing something on the screen right now that reminded me of something. This right here, where it's saying the industry insiders are reporting describing the situation as survival mode with projects that bypass DEI. Want to hear something funny, chat? I had to do at work. I had to do a kind of code of conduct thing. Every major company makes you do a yearly code of conduct thing. I'm guessing probably many of you guys are maybe familiar with something like that. So I was doing my code of conduct, and when I first started it, guess what got emblazoned on the screen of my computer? Beginning with the code of when I was starting to do the code of conduct. We believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I went, fuck. I just clicked on through it, but I just went, God damn it. I wasn't exactly surprised, but I was like, why? Why are you doing this? Anyway, I just thought that reminded me of just that today.
But no, I mean, we saw so much backlash. We saw
declining
box office returns,
but that's only for Star Wars.
Marvel, they're kind of in panic mode over there too. Very telling. They weren't announcing a lot of people, including the Marvels, for Doomsday. Although I'm sure they'll show up at some point in time. But they're getting rid of it. So this is originally coming from Bleeding Fool, but they went out to the Daily Mail article, so I wanted to give them a hat tip. But Mail Plus exclusive. That's what they call me, is Mail
What?
Plus.
No one calls you that.
Wait.
Nobody-
Wait. What?
Mail article, so I wanted to give them a hat tip. But Mail Plus exclusive. That's what they call me, is Mail Plus.
Daily Mail Plus.
No
Okay.
one calls you that.
Nobody does. I call
I
myself.
love you, but
Oh, Kiki. Oh, Kiki with the burn. Oh, goodness, Kiki, that's your man, Kiki. You can't do that to him. Here, I'll play it again.
Mail Plus exclusive. That's what they call me, is Mail Plus.
no one calls you that.
Nobody does. I call myself.
I love you, but no one calls you that.
That's if I go full Andrew Tate. I'm not going to call myself an alpha. I'll just call myself Mail Plus.
There you go.
There we go.
Everything's
Rachel,
plus.
everything is
Oh, I
plus.
know, Black Ham.
Rachel Zegler's Snow White flop sparks anti-woke U-turn. Hollywood whistleblowers reveal how trans actors in liberal films are being dumped in crisis mode panic. Well, they
boy.
did the woke, and now they're doing the broke,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I mean,
Okay, I think I should preface this because doing this first part of just like dumping trans actors, if the actors in question are not talented, and if the stories that they are being cast in are not good stories and are there just to promote agenda, fine. But I'm hoping that we are not going to see an incredibly wild, I'm hoping we're not in a place where it's a pendulum swing, but the pendulum swing goes wildly in the opposite direction. Because there's nothing wrong with an actor being trans. There's nothing wrong with that. And as far as like liberal films, I'm trying to figure out what is quantified as a liberal film or not. But the biggest problem people had was not that an actor was trans. With the liberal film, okay, maybe people were making an argument about it being a liberal film. Whatever the fuck that even means. I'm not quite sure what it means, and quite frankly, I don't fucking care what it means. When I see a movie, when I see a TV show, the only thing I give a shit about is it an entertaining product? Exactly, Dark Wolf, I don't know. That's exactly what I'm saying. The only thing I care about is, are the actors good? Are the actors good? Are they talented? And is the story an engaging or fun or emotional story? And that's what we have not been getting. We have not been getting either of those two. They've been pushing actors who are not actors. They're not good actors. They've been pushing Zendaya. They've been pushing Pedro Pascal. They've been pushing Gal Gadot. And like Pedro Pascal was fine as the Mandalorian. I don't know why they're pushing him so hard and everything else. And as far as Zendaya and Gal Gadot, it's fucking Rachel Zegler, for God's sake. So many actors, they're pushing them down people's throats, and these people can't act. They're not good actors. Now, as far as if an actor's trans, I don't fucking care if they're trans. If they're a good actor, keep them on. Just put them in a good fucking movie that's not cramming agenda down people's throats. And that's my fear.
I had 2 tickets to Snow White in my car, and someone broke into it, and they left 4 more. Crime is seriously getting out of hand.
You got that from one of the chat sings memes, didn't you, Andrea? I know you did. But this is the thing, is that I think Hollywood is not going to get. People have been screaming this. People want movies that does not cram agenda down people's throats. But my biggest fear is Hollywood is not going to listen to that. They're going to say, okay, you don't like trans actors and you don't like quote unquote liberal films. Again, whatever the fuck that means in the first place. I don't know what it means and I don't care what it means. And they're not cheering. We want good stories. We want good scripts. We want good stories. We want actors that don't pontificate about their ethnic or gender ideologies when promoting a film. That's what I think Hollywood is not going to hear, and that's why I fear they're going to just swing in a wildly opposite direction and ignore everything everyone has been saying.
Well, they did the woke, and now they're doing the broke. I guess. I mean, look, it sounds cliche. It sounds very cliche, but there is a pattern, right? You pander to a very small group of people, and a very small group of people support your products.
But
Pretty
that
much.
we're
And
not
it's
listening
like,
too
just
far,
make movies
Alex.
that appeal to more people.
Yeah, that's
That,
all
you know,
got.
make music they used to. That doesn't mean you can't have diversity and inclusion. Not at all. They did it for decades. People still went
Yeah.
to see them. Because
Yes,
you're picking shitty things and Disney stopped the live action remakes.
yes. Perfect example was the video we watched yesterday with memorable monologues, where we saw Morgan Freeman from Shawshank Redemption. Morgan Freeman's character was race swapped. The original character in the original book, or the original short story, was white. Morgan Freeman, in case anybody hasn't figured this out, is not. But it worked because the story was good, the script was good, and the actor in question was able to deliver. And they didn't do the race swap in service to the message. They did it in service to the story. That's the key thing. It has to be done in service to the story and not because you're pushing an ideology. Because when you're pushing an ideology, people will recognize it and call it out instantaneously. So, like, that's... Yeah, I like Idris Elba playing Heimdall in Thor. Heimdall is obviously not black. No one fucking cared that it was Idris Elba as Heimdall. Because the script was written well, and he can act, and he is a good actor, and he, take his personal politics aside, as an actor, he is good, and people just embraced him as Heimdall. So, like, yeah, Hollywood has been able to do diversity, equity, and inclusion for fucking decades. And nobody fucking cared. The only time people cared is when they did this in the service of the message, which started back in 2014, 2015. And it was all about the message. That you can literally trace the problem here back to that era. 2014, 2015, that is when it started. And when they did that, it became all about messaging. It was no longer about entertaining, it was about indoctrinating. And Hollywood has suffered for 10 years now because of it. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is Nick Fury. Yeah, Nick Fury, in case anybody doesn't know, Nick Fury is actually white. But nobody questions Samuel L. Jackson being Nick Fury because, goddammit, he's Samuel motherfucking Jackson. And that man commands presence. So, like, this can be done if you have good story. Hollywood needs, and that should be Hollywood's takeaway from all of this. Get back to good stories. You do that, the money comes rolling in. It's a very simple equation.
So they're talking about how just comically awful the Snow White debacle has been, and they're talking about the angry little people protests and all this stuff that's happened. But they said, they said that there's terror gripping Tinseltown, and there's no one coming to rouse them from their nightmare either. because there's no prince in Snow White. So more than a dozen. Oh, it wasn't just one. More than a dozen Hollywood insiders, ranging from an Oscar-nominated producer to the writer of one of the most successful TV shows ever, have spoken exclusively to the Daily Mail about an industry in crisis mode.
Yeah, well, what'd they say?
Any guesses?
I'm sure she appreciates
it. It's probably Jerry Seinfeld's probably one of them, or Larry David. I'm
Really?
guessing. Larry David's been kind of outspoken about this stuff lately. Yeah. Well, they jumped him about choking Elmo. I mean, what kind of a world do we live in where you can't choke a puppet on live TV? It's ridiculous.
Anyway.
They said when the Me Too movement and the George Floyd protests happened, every studio in town jumped on the woke bandwagon, a Disney insider says.
I'm going to disagree. I think it started back in 2015. I think it's supercharged. I think 2017, actually 2014, 2015 is when it started. 2016 supercharged it. And it just went higher and higher with 2017 and then 2020. Basically, these 2 points in time were just further stepping stones. Was Me Too 2014? Was it? I thought it was a bit later than that. Regardless, well, that's why I said, 24, okay, basically, where we can ascribe this, I can tell you exactly the event that caused all of this to kick off. I can tell you the exact event that caused all of it to kick off. And maybe they're referring to Me Too being in high gear in 2017. Because I'm thinking Me Too probably didn't kick in a high gear until 2017. That may be what it's referencing. But what really kicked it off, Me Too was certainly there, but what kicked it off is when a certain someone made a certain announcement in 2015 and was able to succeed in 2016. That is what kickstarted this in a big way. You can pinpoint it. The moment the announcement happened in 2015 and the event happened in 2016, that is when all of this kicked off. No, I don't think it started with Harvey Weinstein. I don't believe so. I really don't think that's when it really kicked in. I think it kicked in 2015 into 2016. That is when it really kicked into high gear. And Harvey Weinstein was a factor, to be sure. He was not the primary factor because, yeah, what Harvey Weinstein did was disgusting. And it certainly is a notable point. He is not what kicked this off with Hollywood. He is not. Another individual is what kicked this off. And I'm not going to say it because I don't want people to go fucking schizo. I'm not going to say who it was because people will go fucking schizo about this and start accusing me of all sorts of stuff. But it was when a certain someone made an announcement in 2015, succeeded in following through on said announcement in 2016, and that's when this all began. And it just basically steamrolled from fucking there. That's basically what happened.
5 years later, everyone is desperately trying to save themselves in Hollywood. You can't underestimate the fear behind closed doors. This feels like a battle for survival.
So this is coming from a Disney person.
That's a Disney person, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised because, they did everything. Well, they used the protests, I believe, to get the Splash Mountain re-theme pushed through. They've been trying to get through.
Did a GBP? Okay, that sounds about right.
For years. It was a rumor for years. And then, everybody went really too far on it. And then it ended up exactly like we said it was. Because if you swing one side or the other too far, it's going to blow up in your face. And that's what it did.
Yep.
And now they're like, oh, we made a bunch of dumb decisions. We listened to the wrong people. And now it's biting us in the ass. So now we have to course correct. But how do you do it? You have to do it behind closed doors. Because if you say it publicly, they're going to label you a bigot.
Well, yeah, we saw how that worked out for them, right? With
are they going to course correct extreme in the opposite direction? Because that's not going to help them either. If they course correct in the opposite direction in an extreme way, that will not be beneficial to them. They fucking need to basically come back to this huge swath of the middle where everybody is. Stop ignoring the loudest voices on the extreme ends. Ignore them because they're not paying customers. And focus on the middle.
I reprise my Pulp Fiction role only with a Hollywood exec in place of that whiny white boy.
Yeah. No.
End up losing Reedy Creek over that whole debacle because
I'm just saying they have to. Yeah, but you have to say it behind closed doors because one, they don't want everybody to know about it, but two, that if they pivot back to profit and they do what audiences want, they're going to be called names. They're going to be labeled bigots, racists, etc., because these people wanted to control everything.
Wouldn't it have been
counter argument? If Disney comes back to the middle to make things for the masses, yes, they will get called racist, bigots, and every other istophobia label out there. Who cares? They are not the paying customers. The people that scream about the istophobia shit don't spend money on these movies. I will guarantee you, the vast majority of people screaming on the internet about istophobia shit does not spend a fucking dime on the very things that they claim to champion. Disney needs to go where the money is, and the money is in that huge swath of the middle where people just want a good fucking story and no ideology. That's where the money is. If Disney can figure that out, focus on that and ignore the screaming extremists, they will become profitable once again. It's literally as simple as that.
Been hilarious if Bob Iger went to the presidential inauguration and stood next to Elon Musk.
Maybe it's time to clean house then, Andrea.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're buddies anytime soon. That would have been funny.
Like, oh my God, he's friends with Elon now. Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. Like, well, okay.
No, because it's like all these people that were like anti-Trump before going to the inauguration.
Yeah, not him.
Chuckling together.
Not around Elon Musk. Elon Musk told him to go F himself publicly.
Yeah, but now they're advertising on X, aren't they?
Yeah, but they have to. But that doesn't mean they're great buddies.
Yeah, anyway, it's true. They have to.
The disastrous box office failure of $270 million Snow White reboot, which I still think might be more, earned a $43 million opening weekend, was the final nail in the coffin of wokeism.
According to the Insider.
Right.
We'll see.
But
we'll see.
Everybody could have told them this. It's not just us. A lot of people were telling them, bad idea, bad idea, bad idea. And they just would not listen. But I do think they kind of noticed because they got rid of the live action guy. They're still doing live action remakes, but the guy who kept really, spearheading it got, bumped down.
Well, yeah, I mean, they got rid of him because they knew that this, and look at what they're green. Like Lilo and Stitch admittedly looks good. Maybe Moana will be okay, but he was making some really bad choices, and it's bitten them in the ass. And they're flushing this stuff out of the system. They can't.
I wonder if he's going to talk about the one in the middle of the article.
I guess they could pull Warner Brothers
here
and just not release it and take the right down.
Wait, they're doing a Tangled live action. I hadn't heard about that. They're actually. Well, why am I acting so fucking surprised? They're doing a goddamn. Excuse me. They're doing a Moana live action. Why am I so surprised about Tangled being live action too? Because surprise, surprise, Disney is why not creativity. And that's another big criticism on Disney. There's no creativity left. All Disney is doing now is just rehashing their back catalog. Oh yeah, the trailer for that is already out. for Lilo and Stitch. They already put that trailer out with people bitching that one of the lead actors, isn't brown enough. People are already bitching that one of the lead actors in the new Lilo and Stitch live action movie isn't brown enough. She's too white. You're not going to please everyone. Oh yeah, that's a fucking thing. Yeah. And by the way, hang on before I forget. Hang on, because someone did something that I missed. Yeah, JRC, thank you for the tier 3. I missed that, and thank you for the gifted also.
But I think at this point they're like, yeah, we have toy manufacturers involved now. We got this involved, and we got all stuff, kind of. So we got to release it. We're just, going to get it out of the way, make it look like we tried. Okay, yada yada yada. Now we're moving on, and that's what it feels like with.
Sorry, Neon. Yeah, they're claiming that 2 of the Hawaiian actors are not Hawaiian enough. Yet they've got no problem. These same people have no problem race swapping out the singular white guy from Lilo and Stitch. Anybody notice that when we watched the trailer? How they race swapped the white guy and no one said a fucking word? The guy with the ice cream cone. Or the icy cone. They race swapped him for a native Hawaiian. Nobody said a fucking word, did they? Because they took out a white guy. Because according to the reeing masses, it's perfectly acceptable to be racist to white people now. Wonder how long it's going to take for them to figure that shit don't fly.
Marvel too. They're like,
or that Snow White wasn't white.
True, Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts out of the way, and then we're going to get to the Fantastic Four, and then we're going to do Secret Wars, and people are going to try to bring people back for that.
No, a Bowmage replaced
Star Wars is a
Black
lost
Panther
cause.
with the white guy.
Well, if you skip down here, they're talking about some of the controversies around Ziegler, which we've talked about at length. There's no point talking about it again. But they do say that recounting meetings with snobbish Hollywood executives over the past several years, an Oscar-nominated producer tells the Daily Mail.
Okay, they didn't talk about it. Hang on, let me back this up a little bit. This one, did you guys? Thank you, Emma. They didn't talk about this one right here. So this one, John Ferguson, an actor as dwarfism, even protested outside a movie theater this week dressed as one of the 7 dwarves. He held a placard that read, "Hire real dwarves." Have you guys seen this? Did you guys see the little, I can't remember if it was like a short or just a brief video on YouTube. This guy was at a theater playing Snow White, stood in front of the Snow White poster with a cardboard placard saying, "Hire real dwarves."
If you can't guarantee the remake will be better than the OG, then don't bother.
They need to leave the OG alone, is what it boils down to. Yeah, I was getting there, Kaibo. Yeah, he's standing in front of the Snow White poster with a placard saying, "Hire real dwarves," and then goes into the theater while the movie's playing and is yelling, "Hire real dwarves." But no one was bothered in the theater because no one was in the fucking theater. The theater showing Snow White, because he was in there while the movie was playing on the screen behind him. No one was in the theater. And this was like opening fucking weekend or something. No one was in the theater watching this movie. And he's standing in there with the cardboard sign saying, "Hire real dwarves," and yelling about hire real dwarves. And there was no one in the theater. It was fucking hilarious.
Which we've talked about at length. There's no point talking about it again. But they do say that recounting meetings with snobbish Hollywood executives over the past several years, an Oscar-nominated producer tells the Daily Mail
which is not
how
bad.
we hear people
It's not
dismissing the
terrible.
flyover states, those in middle America adding, "Duh, those people are the ones who watch our shows and go to the movies."
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's very obvious this year, and that's what they were talking about, like with Twisters and all this like lowbrow humor. It's like these people make up the bulk of your audience.
Right. And then they're always dismissing them. And they said this year, he cited this year's Oscars had the lowest ratings ever because there were movies no one cares about. And a big part of it was because
it's not only the fact that showcasing movies nobody cares about. It's not only that. People do not give a fuck about the Oscars, period. Because people are done with Hollywood. That's why that is one reason why the Oscars had lowest ratings ever. Like the ratings were always already going down. The year Will Smith decided to slap Chris Rock on stage and suffer zero repercussions. Yeah, they said he was like out of the Academy for like he couldn't win an Academy Award for a couple years or something. But he still won fucking Best Actor later in the show. People, the minute that happened, the viewership for the Oscars just went off a cliff. And they were like, was it 10 years? Okay, 10 years. But no one fucking cares. So he can't win an Oscar for 10 years. No one fucking cared because he didn't suffer any actual repercussions. He didn't receive a fine, he didn't get arrested, and he won fucking Best Actor later in the show after slapping Chris Rock. And I think that was the tipping point for a lot of people that were still watching the Oscars at that point, and they're just like, fuck it, I'm done. The Oscars, I was already on the edge of saying fuck the Oscars, and this just tipped it right over. No one fucking cares. No one cares about a bunch of Hollywood elitists showing up to pat themselves in the back for 3 fucking hours and say, look at how great we are. So that actors can go up on stage to accept an award instead doing, who was it that did this? I think it was Joe Pesci that did this. I could be mistaken. It could have been a different actor. That when he won an award, when he won an Oscar, his speech was simply walking up onto stage, accepting the award, saying, thank you very much. And that's it. Now, all of these actors, when they go to accept their awards, they have to start espousing about their political or sociological beliefs that no one gives a fuck about. You're actors. Your job, the only reason people give a flying fuck about you is your acting ability. Your ability to play pretend. That is the only reason why people give a shit about you. Nobody fucking cares about your political ideology. No one cares about your sociological ideology. You are the court fucking jester. Dance. That's all we give a fuck about. If you want to become an ideological activist or a political activist or whatever, stop acting. If that is the road you want to go down, stop acting. Don't expect anybody to take you seriously as an actor. It's literally that simple. Nobody gives a fuck about an actor's, political messaging.
Because they had those initiatives, the DEI requirements. So a lot of films that should have been nominated didn't get nominated.
Well,
yeah,
and he
except
brings
those
this up too, and
followings
that's the
have
problem with the
greatly diminished,
nomination
Leo.
criteria now for Best Picture for the Academy Awards. The Godfather and Casablanca wouldn't have gotten nominated, right? There's several classic movies that you cannot stress how classic these movies are. Wizard of Oz, probably, even it was probably too white.
All of the classic films now, none of them would be enjoyed. None of the classic films that are beloved, that made Hollywood possible today, would get the kind of exposure that they got back then. Like they're saying here, possibly even may, because of the DEI requirements that Hollywood now has, which are probably going to go away now, because they did the whole thing about the DEI requirements in order to meet the Oscars, which Hollywood, at least Disney, is now in a panic bypassing. Because they're starting to realize making a movie that wins an Oscar doesn't mean fuck all if you're not making money from it. Disney and Hollywood may finally be starting to realize once again that they are in the business of making money. And they haven't been making it for a long time.
It's just like, yeah, I mean, it's like you really got to look at like I'm all for including more diverse voices in nominations, whatever, but shouldn't exclude any group.
Yes, it should be voted on. People should be nominated based on actual talent.
Yeah.
Not on, I was in this movie that was
I said
very
I should
far
bite
left.
your tongue.
It should be
Someone
just
may be
based on,
trying
was
to
the movie
remake that
good?
right now.
Do people like it? Do the actors do a really good performance? It shouldn't matter whether they're, whatever color they are or whatever gender they are. As long as they did a really great job, that's all you should really worry about.
Yeah. But that's how it used to be, right? I mean, but they said, instead you have films like Amelia Perez about a cartel boss who transitions that appeal to no one except a handful of ultra left liberals and got all kinds of nominations, but didn't win a lot. But yeah, they loved her until they didn't, because she said some stuff on social media that did not fit the zeitgeist.
Oh, what did she say?
The time in Hollywood. Let's just put it that way, right?
Oh. A flurry of her old tweets expressing disparaging reviews about Muslims emerged. What did I say? What did I say before? About how quickly they will eat themselves. Carla Sofia Gaston was like the sweetheart for the Oscars because she is transgender, which may very well be the only reason why she was the Oscar sweetheart to win Best Actress. And then she said something about about another ethnicity or another religion. And what did they do? What did people on this side of the fence do? They immediately ate her. What have I said about this? These people will eat one another at the bare minimum of provocation. Right there. It's right there.
And then they tried to kind of blacklist her, but that was a very confusing. That was kind of like we ran into this situation with Caitlyn Jenner too. It's like, oh, they love Caitlyn Jenner. Oh, she's a Republican. Yeah.
Oh, she said that they should.
Yep. Yup. Do you guys remember that? Like when Caitlyn Jenner came out, went through transitioning, and the news was like all happy, and they're like, oh, Caitlyn Jenner is a transgender icon. She was all over the news. Like they were lauding her as an icon. And then she said she's voting Republican, and instantaneous turn because of her political views. Because her political views did not fit with their ideology, instantaneously she became a boogeyman. Yes, I wasn't even going to delve into that. Like, me personally, when it comes to Caitlyn Jenner, I didn't give a fuck when this happened, and I still don't give a fuck. I'm viewing it as from a distance viewing of this is what happened. She was viewed. She was held aloft as an icon. And then the second, like, her political ideology did not match, they instantly turned on her and basically switch her from being an icon to a boogeyman. How quickly they'll very rapidly turn on you.
Oh, she's a Republican. Yeah.
Oh, she said that they shouldn't, but that, biological men shouldn't be in women's sports.
Yeah. Well, we don't love Caitlyn as much as
pretty much
did last week. How dare you? You're supposed to be the chosen one. How very dare you? Yeah, but they said Hollywood became so confused over identity politics that it turned on itself because insiders say the industry never held any true values.
No.
What?
And they said studios thought going woke would attract new younger audiences and make them money. But all it did was piss everyone off. Which is what we told you was going to happen. It's almost like, we're right. You should just pay us. An insider at Amazon's Prime Video streaming division told the Daily Mail that this was never about genuinely helping minorities. For most studio executives, DEI was another way to make money, and it backfired, and everyone is scrambling to change direction.
Yes.
And all it did was create
how
resentment.
did it take this long to figure? How the fuck did it take this long to figure that out? Like, I don't doubt that Hollywood jumped on the DEI bandwagon because they saw it because it was like the hot button issue, and they're like, oh, we can make money about this because this is such a hot topic. We can use this to make money. Very quickly, it became obvious that you are not going to be making money from doing this. So here's my question. Why in the fuck did it take them 10 years to figure this out? And to finally go, this isn't actually making us money. We should change things. It's literally taken them 10 fucking years to figure this out. Which is why I don't necessarily buy that DEI was a way to make money. I don't necessarily buy that. Because again, 10 years. Like, they've been losing money through a fucking sieve for the last 10 years. I still think that Hollywood was trying to affect social change. I really do think that Hollywood was, they initially went into it to make money, and then they said, okay, we have to change the social zeitgeist. We're going to keep pushing this to they were trying to socially engineer change. And that's why they kept doing it. But they realized that people in respect to this are smarter than them and know that they're not, their money dictates what Hollywood is going to do in the end. And it took them 10 years to figure out, these tactics aren't working. We're not actually affecting any kind of change or social engineering. Maybe this was a bad idea. So I don't think it was 100% about making money. I do think they were actively trying, as Disney in particular. Disney and maybe even Warner Brothers in particular were trying to socially engineer society. They may have started out as money, but then they went to the engineering route, and it's failed spectacularly. And it's been so much fun to watch.
DEI stuff, all it did was drum up more bigotry and divisiveness because of it.
So this next part, though, this sounds very familiar. If you're been following
it sounds
us
very
for a long
familiar.
Time. If you've been following us for a long time, and we talk about the animation industry.
Okay, Ayla, I'm gonna put this one to bed. No, they did not. They did not ask the UN. Okay, this has been disproven. The UN did not ask Arrowhead, how can we brainwash people? That is not what they did. That has popped up in my chat. I've seen it pop up elsewhere. It is incorrect. What the UN did is they asked I think it was the CEO of Arrowhead to speak in regards to this, how this could happen. Not asking Arrowhead, hey, how do you brainwash people? No, they were asking him to speak on the parody fascism. And they made it clear of parody that Arrowhead put in Helldivers 2, and to speak to the UN on how people can recognize fascism. It was not asking Arrowhead, hey, can you help us brainwash people? I'm nipping that one in the bud right now. That is not what happened. They saw the success of Helldivers and asked Arrowhead CEO to come speak at the UN to showcase how you can recognize fascism in the world. Yes, 100% taking out of context. For whatever reason it was taken out, they took it out of context. It is absolutely, I've heard there are a lot of people on YouTube that say, Arrowhead's saying the quiet part out loud. Arrowhead is actually brainwashing you. They're actually talking about it. No, they are not. It's fucking clickbait. That is not what happened. And hello, 11. Hi, Raiders. How's it going? How are you? How was your stream? Welcome in. How was Fall Guys? Did you have fun? Did you guys have fun? You guys caught us. We're kind of about halfway through our first React of the Night, where we're talking about how Hollywood is actually finally gotten the message. And they might actually start making decent movies again. The Fall Guys have fallen. Well, then at least the game was as advertised on it. So yeah, we're about halfway through this. I've already yapped my ass off. Yeah, well, Helen, that is the hope. And I've already yapped my ass off probably about 4 times as long as this video actually is, but hey, that's what I do. But yeah, hopefully movies will become non-woke. But we have to wait and see. Prove it or shut the fuck up, basically. So, let's continue.
If you've been following us for a long time and we talk about animation, the animation industry, so the new regime created a lot of resentment. One woman who is white and in her late 50s could not get hired, but she was called in to rescue a DEI project, which ended up winning a slew of awards. The kid who had been handed the film had no experience. She says the budget was out of control and they were off partying every night. So the studio sent me to oversee things and get them back on track. But when the movie won awards, I wasn't allowed to go up on stage because they didn't want a middle-aged white woman standing in the middle of the young African-American cast members. I was told it wasn't good optics.
That's bullshit.
Oh, fuck that. So, that studio is racist. Whatever studio this is, whatever this DEI project is, obviously they're not going to talk, obviously they're not going to say what it was. That's fucking racist. Flat the fuck out. And Tybal, ages too. I'll agree. Yeah, and probably about ageist. But it's 100%. I guarantee you the white was more important than the middle age part. Yeah, that's fucking racist. I've told you guys, when people do shit that is racist against white people, I will call it the fuck out, and I'm calling it the fuck out. Whatever studio this was, they are racist. They are a racist studio. I wish we knew which studio it was so we could call them the fuck out by name. And if anybody happens to know, and anybody who watches my stupid fucking stream or my videos on YouTube happens to know what studio this is, especially on my videos, if you know what studio they're referencing here, feel free to call it out in the comments, because this studio needs to be called out as being fucking racist. Because that's exactly what they are. This is fucking racism. And it's alive and well in 2025.
Bullshit, because especially if the other people because what's going to happen is that those people are going to get more projects and she won't. They'll get more projects because of her work, because they dropped the ball and didn't do their job. If true, they dropped their ball and didn't do their job.
GBP.
And now they're going to get awards.
That's the problem. They just said it was a DEI project and it won awards, but we have no idea what awards. So very little information about it. It's just apparently it was worked according to what this says. It was an all African-American, a young African-American cast. So that doesn't really nail it down at all. So I have no idea.
They dropped the ball and didn't do their job. If true, they dropped their ball and didn't do the job, and now they're going to get awards and they're going to get all the credit, and they're going to get
standing
more gigs,
on the
and this
shoulders
woman who
of their
saved
betters.
everything and made it work will get nothing.
It's not the only story. Here's another one. A male writer who's 60 tells a similar story. He worked on some of the most successful shows ever made. He says, when DEI started, my phone stopped ringing. Then it started ringing again with big names at the studios asking me to take a look at scripts and rewrite them.
Boy, this sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? This is kind of starting to sound a bit familiar to a certain video we watched yesterday, doesn't it? About a certain battalion who was a bit older, and everybody thought that they were nothing. And it turns out they became the best goddamn battalion in the army. And were the ones that they called on to fix all the fucking problems. Now, Now, granted, this is just the age thing, not the skin color thing. This is starting to sound kind of familiar, isn't it, chat? The older, more experienced that basically got kicked to the curb in the face of DEI, but the second they need help, who are they crawling back to? And still not giving them their proper accolades or pay, I will imagine. Uh-huh.
Their DEI hires couldn't actually do the job. So they had old white men like me rewrite things. The money was good, but I couldn't get any credit. That's the hypocrisy of Hollywood.
Yeah, because they're going to keep giving these people credit. And what happens is those people keep getting jobs.
So let's go back to the way
more
back
like
machine.
youth and ideology, Colonel.
Yeah, it's been about
because exuberance didn't help. They were off partying every fucking night. So it's not like even so much exuberance. It's more like youth and lack of creativity, at least in terms of Hollywood. Because these were people, they were just young, but they have zero creativity. They have zero work ethic. They just fucked around. And they didn't fucking care because they were making money. And the biggest problem I could see with this is this might be teaching them, okay, we can keep hiring on these young, inexperienced, untalented individuals, and when shit doesn't work right, we'll call in the old white people that actually know what the fuck they're doing to fix all the problems. But the young, diverse crowd are still going to get all the credit, so they'll continue to get work, and then the old white people are going to get regulated to the background again, and like go stick them in a corner till we need them again, instead of giving them the work because they know what the fuck they're doing. That's what this is. Because I guarantee that's going to happen. They pulled these two examples in. Their job's done. They're like, cool. Don't call us. We'll call you. And then they're gonna by fears the pattern's gonna repeat. That the next time they need the next time they have a project where people like these two individuals would be an asset, they're gonna say, fuck off, we'll call you if we need you. And they're going to hire the young, untalented, non-worth at work ethic DEI hires and give the jobs to them. Because DEI.
Oh, that's 7 years now.
She-Ra?
The new Netflix She-Ra show. When they promoted this show, all you saw were a diverse group of white women.
Oh, you mean the other women? When you saw them, because mostly it was about Andy Stevenson and all the stuff that Stevenson had done. And
right.
It was mostly this PR, rollout for Stevenson.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. They handed.
But okay, Andrea, if there's an article about that, link it into the stream chat in Discord. I'll pull it up afterwards.
It was Noel at the time, ND Stevenson. They handed Stevenson the keys to a classic IP at like 23, 24 years old. And prior to that, the only experience they had was a graphic novel or two and a couple of like stints writing for other shows. No show running experience.
Oh,
and as the story goes, they had to bring
show.
Chuck Austin in to basically act as the shadow showrunner, but without the credit. And they didn't want it getting out there that this middle-aged man had to be brought in to fix the show.
Well, that's kind of why the second season was better than the first one.
Yes, the first couple episodes were really
like, this is fucking back of the bus shit. It is. This is racist back of the bus shit. Remember, God. Ooh, what the hell happened to me there? Remember when there was a movie that came out a few years ago? I forget what it was called. It was about the 4 black women at NASA that were significantly beneficial to the space program. I cannot recall for the life of me what the name of the movie was called. These women were basically like they were brilliant women, hidden figures. Thank you, Doc. They were brilliant women, and they were basically just like shoved into secretarial positions until they needed them. When they were needed, and bearing in mind, this was what? I think it took place back in the 40s or the 40s or the 50s, I think. And when they needed them, they brought them in, had them do whatever scientific work they needed to do. And I'm pretty sure afterwards, was it 60s? Okay, 60s. When they were done with whatever they needed to do, I'm pretty sure they just basically, okay, we're done with you. You can go away now. That's what's happening with these older, white, talented people in Hollywood. When they fucked up 6 Ways to Sunday, they bring in the white people to fix their shit. The white people fix it, or at least fix it as best they can, given what they have to work with. And then they're like, okay, white people, good. You can go away now. We're done with you. So, we're seeing history repeat itself. Only in reverse. And, basically Hollywood has become racist against white people.
Rough. And then it got better as it went on because they brought Chuck Austin in, who had decades of experience working in animation, to fix it. And he actually said in an interview he really didn't want the credit, but every time you saw pictures, it was just Stevenson and the all-girl squad, best friends squad, in their matching pink jackets, talking about how they were going to take animation by storm.
Pretty much. And this keeps happening. We keep hearing story after story about this. And it's bullshit, because what happens is, unless the studio executives remember this and talk amongst themselves, to everybody else, it looks like they were the geniuses behind it. They made what a great show. They did all the work. They made it work. Look at them. Except that isn't necessarily the case.
Yeah. So now they're talking about how the anti-whack, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Anti-woke
That actually sounds about right, Leon.
Is in full swing. So Mel Gibson, a director who was famously canceled for drunkenly spewing anti-Semitic slurs, announced he'll be filming a long-awaited follow-up to The Passion of the Christ in Italy this summer. How do you do a sequel to The Passion of the Christ?
That's what I'm wondering.
Jesus has returned.
Wait. He's going to do the story. I don't know what he's going to call it. So he's going to do the story of Easter. That must be what he's doing. Mel Gibson's going to do the story of Easter. I don't know how well it's going to do. Actually, honestly, you know what? In this day and age, I think that actually could do very, very well. Like, not being a religious person myself, neither did I. The only thing I know about the Passion of the Christ is basically it was about the crucifixion. It was about, the Jesus's life up to the time of this crucifixion, and that Jim Caviezel actually got struck by lightning twice during the filming of it. That's about all I know. Well, and that's what this is what I was going to say. In this day and age, I think it actually could do really well because films about Christianity are actually starting to come back in something of a big way. Well done films. There was the one that came out. It was another. Ironically enough, it was another Jim Caviezel movie. The movie Silence. Was it The Sound of Silence? Or fuck. What was it called? Came out a couple of years ago. I can't remember the name of it. It was a movie about it was basically a movie about young adult trafficking, basically. And there was a religious core to the movie. And it was Sound of Freedom. Thank you, Bobcat. Yes, Sound of Freedom. Which ironically was Jim Caviezel again. And while it was about child trafficking, it was rooted in I think Christianity, not Catholicism, but I think it was it had a Christianity backbone to the story. And it was a very limited release, but it did incredibly well on a low budget. It did great. And I think a Christian movie about the story of Easter, I think actually could do very well in this day and age, because a lot of people who are Christians, particularly devout Christians, have felt under attack for several years now. That if you are Christian, it's kind of like a scarlet letter for a lot of people. And I see it, and they have been fighting back against this, and I think a movie about Jesus' resurrection, I think could do extremely well. And yeah, exactly. It's not going to be DEI, it's going to be a religious film, and people will absolutely go to see it for that reason alone, but also it'll be a major film about Christianity. Now, again, this is bearing in mind, I'm saying this as someone that does not like religion in any way, shape, or form. I am unreligious entirely about myself, but I can recognize how people that are Christian, that express their Christianity, how they have basically been like browbeaten for the last umpteen years with DEI. And so a movie like a follow-up to The Passion of the Christ about Jesus' resurrection, I think will do extremely well in the modern climate because of all this.
I just like,
Well,
it's called the
that's
Book
true.
of Revelation. Is that what we're doing?
I don't know.
It's like, I don't know.
Is it like following them as they went out and preached about Jesus and wrote the Bible and stuff? I don't know. Go ahead. What are you gonna say next?
Well, no, it's funny because look at who Trump is putting in as the ambassadors to Hollywood. And there's guys like Gibson and Stallone and conservatives who basically were blacklisted from Hollywood.
Zeb, it's not strictly anti-Christian, but with DEI, generally speaking, DEI usually will typically, not as a whole, but they're promoting, there's been a significant promotion of non-Christian religions, for Christianity. Basically, that's I may or may not be explaining this quite correctly, but there's been a big promotion in particularly Muslim that has been heavily promoted in Hollywood as of late. Some Judaism, but not so much. Primarily, it's been a lot of Muslim and like Indian cultures. That's been promoted pretty strongly lately. And Christianity has been kind of looked down upon in Hollywood in the last, at a guess, 5 to 10 years. So it's not strictly anti-Christian. I'm not saying anti-Christian, but they are definitely basically placing other religions above Christianity and are looking down upon Christianity. And yeah, Christianity is typically associated with white people. So it's kind of a hand-in-hand thing. Yeah, I mean, it's there's always been, like, when it comes to religion, there's always kind of been a back and forth, but in the last few years, like, Christianity and white people kind of go hand in hand, at least as far as Hollywood goes, and socially speaking, and that's looked down upon. That's kind of just how it's frickin' been. And that's why I say, if you, it's, there's been enough pushback that a movie like Dibson's follow-up here will probably do extremely well.
Now, I don't agree with Gibson's, drunken rant, but people have done worse. At least he didn't go to the Diddy party.
Yeah.
So it's like,
oh God.
But beyond that, like, they're putting in the old guard. And they're I mean, hell, how many times have they dragged Harrison Ford out of retirement or pseudo retirement to, you know, bring his characters back? Because they know that's what people want. They know it's what makes money, but wasn't fashionable. And I think what's going to happen now, here's the thing. If you basically got blacklisted for 4 or 5 years because you weren't the right kind of person, when your phone starts ringing again, do you pick it up or you tell them to go fuck themselves?
Yeah, well, apparently they pick it up because they want money.
They'll pick it up. They need money.
But
They
they
need
go
to
on
make a
here
living.
talking about, like, in the mood in Hollywood, he wasn't conducive to movie about faith in God under Biden.
Right.
And they're waking up to the fact the mood has changed. To talk about Win or Lose. Yeah, Win or Lose. I didn't see the episode of the transgender character that they kind of walked it back. But honestly, I don't think that the show is that bad. What I saw of it was actually pretty good. The Disney executive who spoke to Daily Mail privately admitted that this was a direct result of the anti-DEI backlash for the transgender character, I'm assuming. The studio put out a statement.
Okay, and this is what worries me. I have no idea about this Disney animated show, Win or Lose. No idea. They removed a transgender character. And chat, I don't know if any of you have seen this show. Here is my question. Did they remove the transgender character because it was not a well-written character? Or did they remove it because of anti-DEI backlash? Because if it's strictly because of anti-DEI backlash, that means that Disney does not have a backbone. Exactly. That's exactly. They're missing the point. If the character that was transgender was well written and was integrated well into the story without pushing an agenda, there was no reason to remove the character. And this is what I fear, is that the pendulum swing from DEI is going to swing too far. Way too far. From what you read, it was just to be okay. If it was a character that was inserted just because it's just because the character was transgender, and there was no good story written regarding the character or the integration of character, then fine. I'm fine with that. Then taking that character out because they serve no purpose to the story and they were just there for representation, I'm fine with that.
In December saying, we recognize that many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects with their children on their own terms and timeline, which that came out publicly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that wasn't surprising. We knew they said that
I
already.
know, it's not. I know.
Yeah, and you know, I think whatever they could, and it's kind of like with Inside Out too.
True, Zeb, but now they're turning into a wet noodle.
Fix it, you know, they talk about fixing it in post and editing. Whatever they could fix in post, they did, but there are some projects that are too far along in the production cycle that they can't fix. There's nothing they can do. So they just put them out there, be like, "Yay, look, Snow White, everybody. Oh yeah, you hate
Well,
it."
this is interesting too. Amazon had The Apprentice mothballed and they started putting the episodes back up.
Oh.
As if by magic. Everything changed. That's what I was talking about. You know, those executives and stuff at the inauguration, they were all like anti-Trump, 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 and suddenly they love the Trump.
Until
We love Trump now, right? Oh, look how young he looks. We used to watch.
Wow.
look at John. Look at how thin he looks. Holy shit! When did this air? God, he actually looks thin. You don't know what The Apprentice is? Okay, quick and dirty about The Apprentice. The Apprentice was a CBS show, I believe. I believe it was on CBS. It was Donald Trump's CBS show from many years ago. Many years ago. And it was a reality game show. It started off for it was NBC. Okay, NBC. It had one, maybe two seasons where they would bring in normal working professionals, where you would basically run them through challenges. They would have to like raise money, do projects and earn so much money. And it was, basically, simplest version, it was Hell's Kitchen for business. That's what The Apprentice was. The Apprentice was Hell's Kitchen for business. It was the exact same premise. And the conclusion of every episode is the losing team would stand in front of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump would pick someone out of the group who was the weakest link and would basically do the trademark, "You're fired." And that person would be off the show. They had normal people for one, maybe two seasons. Yeah, exactly. It was all part of that reality TV bullshit. He had normal business people for 1, maybe 2 seasons, and after season 2, it turned into Celebrity Apprentice. There was never a normal, regular apprentice ever again. It was all celebrities that were on The Apprentice, and all of the money made during the various challenges went to charities. So, but that's what it is. It was Hell's Kitchen for business, and that's it. That's what it was. It lasted what? 5, 7 years maybe, and went away. And so I guess Amazon had the rights to the distribution, and now suddenly they're putting them all back up again. Very interesting. And I'm seeing an interesting one down here too about Duck Dynasty. I wonder if Neon and Geek here are going to talk about that one.
I used to watch The Apprentice all the time, and I remember when they said that he was going to run for president. I'm like, oh hell no! The guy from reality TV, there's no way he's going to run for president. This is a joke, right? This is a stunt. No.
Oh wait, because better A&E brought back Duck Dynasty.
Yeah, there it is.
I didn't know they got rid of Duck.
Yeah, Duck Dynasty's been gone for a while, but yeah, they kicked Duck Dynasty. Well, I mean, okay, whether or not you consider the Duck Dynasty guys posers, immaterial. But they kicked Duck Dynasty because the Robertson family was highly religious. And towards the end, Annie was saying, "Oh, we don't like religion. We don't like them being devout Christians, so you're not gonna give a show anymore." And it was basically their religion that got the show canned in the end. Now, again, whether or not you like Duck Dynasty, whether or not you think the guys behind Duck Dynasty are posers, doesn't matter. That's the reason why their show got canned.
Duck Dynasty.
Apparently having a beard makes you like, being Duck Dynasty, because they had Christian values.
Redneck is back in vogue. No, they did. They actually tried to purge it for a while.
They're admitting, though, that if anything had a Christian value to it or Christianity to it at all, they deliberately excluded it. Because here's what makes you mad. Here's what makes you mad. They're saying they deem Christian values exclusionary. They keep saying this. And what pisses me off about it is I can tell you that there are some other religions that are far less accepting of different kinds of people than Christians. But those ones they support and back at all turns. And I'm just like.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was talking about. The DEI crowd raised other religions on high and promoted other religions and considered Christianity to be dirty and ugly and should not be discussed. And if there's Christianity, we don't want it anywhere near us. Exactly. That's it. That was what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. But, and it's kind of like when people commentate about what the occurrences in Gaza, where they talk about a certain religion in that region where people are slaughtered in the name of religion. And you can't talk about that because, companies like the one I'm streaming on promote it. And if you talk badly about it and speak truth to it, you get shut down. And and maybe companies are starting to realize this might have been a bad idea. Like, this is not to say that any one bearing in mind, this is not to say any one singular religion is better than another. Literally every single religion on the face of this fucking planet has a dark history and has script in their tenets that are disgusting and promote abhorrent behavior. That is literally every religion on the face of the planet, with possibly the exception of Buddhism. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't think If I remember correctly, Buddhism is strictly nonviolent, like to the point where even harming an insect is considered a sin. If I'm remembering Buddhism correctly, that would be like the one religion that might not actually have a dark past or darkness in its scripture. But literally every other religion on the face of the planet throughout history has darkness in its scripture. Every fucking single one. With the possible exception of Buddhism. So, yeah, it's... And, trying to silence someone for calling out this stuff is hypocritical to an extreme. It's just, the question is, which religions have adapted to the modern age and which are refusing to do so and retain the old school religious teachings. And we kind of know which ones have gone that route.
If you have a problem with religion and not being accepting, then why are you accepting of this group and not this group? You know what I mean?
But what's weird, I mean, going back to the Disney show, what the hell is it called?
Oh, Win or Lose.
Win or Lose. Yeah, I couldn't remember. I kept wanting to say win, lose, or draw.
It's not called win. It's not called what the hell is it called? It's called
what the hell is it called? What the hell is the name of the show?
Be.
The baseball show. We watched a couple episodes of it. I'm like, yeah, that's cute. Whatever. No, the first episode starts with the main character of that episode praying to God.
Yeah, it was. I have to admit, there's like saying, they left that in and took the transgender storyline out, and I can kind of see what their argument is, because if you're like saying that you have to monitor what's in it, and Disney made that big point of saying they couldn't put Dr. Facilier and Tiana's Bio Adventure because they don't want to tie religion into it, and then they do that. It's kind of like, wait a minute, there's you have double standard here, but they always had double standard. There's mad that's going the other way.
Well, they had a bunch of activists basically whispering in their ears too and telling them like, no, this is the way you go, because this is this new audience. Like, yeah, that new audience you chase, they don't buy shit. A lot of them are broke. A lot of them outright hate money, but sure. Double down on chasing that audience.
What have I said?
In the case of Disney, all those families that spend thousands and thousands of dollars a year going to your theme parks and buying your merchandise, whatever. Yeah, tell them to go get bent.
Thank you,
and chase after these wokesters and see what happens. This is what happened. They're like, now they're like, oh my God, we're gonna hit the iceberg. No, they already hit the iceberg. So now they just got to try to patch up the hole before the ship sinks, and I don't think it's gonna work. I think some of these companies are gonna go down, and we're gonna look back at it and 10, 15 years and be like, well, here's the exact point where they hit the iceberg. It was when they doubled down on far left politics and then told the rest of their existing customers to go get bent.
We just have to go back to the middle. I mean, you can like you can have Duck Dynasty on the air, but you can also have other shows on the air that maybe lean a little left.
RuPaul's Drag.
Yeah, but it was on there for years and no one cared. You know what I mean?
I don't even know the name of that show.
Drag Race. It's Drag
Race. Thank you.
But it's on the air for years and nobody gave a shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it didn't bother anybody. You watched if you wanted to. You didn't watch if you didn't want to.
You can tell I watch it every week. Right?
Yeah.
RuPaul's Drag.
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. All that stuff. Nobody cared. If you wanted to watch, you did. If you didn't watch, you didn't. If you wanted to go watch, reruns of Touched by an Angel, then you were allowed to do it. If you wanted to go watch Duck Dynasty, you were allowed to do it. Didn't make you a bad person. Just meant you were different taste, and it was something for everyone, and nobody cared. It wasn't until like a few years ago, 10 years ago or so, that you got these activists.
It is 10 years ago.
I just invented diversity and inclusion, even though you did.
And it was 10 years ago. That's when all this kicked into high gear. 10 years ago. You can actually market. And you can have a very robust assortment of types of shows. Like Geeky was saying, you could have shows like Duck Dynasty where you have a religious core to it. You can have RuPaul's Drag Show, or for fuck's sake, you could have shows about actual transgender people. You could have a show like Queer as Folk, or I forget what the hell it was called. There was another like a sci-fi show where one of the main characters was transgender. Like, you can have the straight stuff, you can have the LGBT stuff, you can have everything in between. And some people will watch one, some people watch the other. The key thing about all of this, again, which is, I'm surprised it hasn't been mentioned. The key thing to all of this is you can make the show, but do not attack people that don't like the show. If you attack people for not liking the show and call them every name in the book, that's what kills your show. You're not going to please everybody. It is not possible. And you are certainly not going to please an audience that does not exist in the first place. If you as a Hollywood writer or producer or whatever, hey, looks like you were making fun of Kiki there, Colonel. You can make whatever fucking kind of show you want. But there's a couple key elements. Number one, do not try and shove agenda down your audience's throat. That's key point number two, or key point number one. Key point number two, do not attack anyone that doesn't like the show or the movie that you have created. That's number two, because when you do that, people are going to go, oh, you're an asshole. Why should I give you money if you're going to be an asshole because someone disagrees with you? That's number two. Number three, muzzle your goddamn talent. Any of your talent that does pressers, you tell that shut the fuck up and say, I had a lot of fun we had a great time making this movie. We put together what we hope is a really entertaining show/movie, and we hope you all enjoy it, have as much fun, watching it as we did making it. That's all you say. That is your script. You say nothing else other than that. Do those three fucking things. You can make whatever the fuck you want. Seriously, that is literally the formula. Hollywood, listen up. I'm giving you the winning formula right now. Make whatever you want, but do not shove agenda down people's throats. Do not attack your audience if someone doesn't like it, and muzzle the fucking talent. It is a 3-step formula, and you can make literally whatever the fuck you want. It is not hard. This is coming from a stupid anime cat girl on Twitch that is not in Hollywood, does not know the Hollywood business, and it is literally this fucking simple. If you cannot figure this out, I got no help for you. There's nothing else I can do. If you cannot follow a 3-step process like that, I got nothing for you.
And ruining it for everyone. And it's about time you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Like how you can stuff that bitch right back in.
Thank you, guys.
And then put a cork in it and hammer that cork and then dip it in cement and then say, don't touch it.
Don't be touched by an angel.
Don't be touched by the genie in the bottle. Never mind.
The genie.
No, let everybody like what they like.
Robin Williams back.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always been something for everyone on TV, even
That's
going back 20, 30, 40 years, know, and well, maybe not for everyone, but there's been diversity in entertainment, and you just watch the shows you want to watch, and you don't watch shows you don't want to watch, but the thing is they took shows that were basically, it was like this parasitic.
Okay, that I'll agree with Brian House.
Thing going on where they would take a show that was much, much more popular because it had a large audience, and then they would attach the activism to it, and they would try to change the audience.
Right. For modern audiences. And it doesn't work.
Right.
What did I say? It
doesn't work. And then all that happens is you burn down a viable IP.
What did I fucking say?
Those IPs, those, Star Wars and Marvel and Star Trek and Doctor Who, all that stuff, if it's successful, and it's consistently successful, then you can bankroll more niche projects.
Here's my thing about that. If you had Star Wars, for example, was popular for decades. So you're talking like many new audiences that came into Star Wars. They had kids, their kids saw it, whatever, even up to, the prequels and stuff. But you had at least in the 70s, you might have grew up and your kids in the 90s might have seen the Star Wars and liked it again. So it was perennially, resonating with people as is. Okay. You didn't need to change it for modern audiences because it already had something about it that everybody loved. and it didn't matter what generation you were. It just kept,
Eh?
snowballing with people. You didn't need to update it for modern audiences. You could have just kept making stuff in the same vein, and it would have automatically attracted an audience and the same kind of audience you wanted.
Getting neon scroll.
I think this is going to end out of necessity. I mean, we're going to have people that are going to bitch bitterly about it at studios, but I think a lot of these people, it's going to be self-correcting. They're going to get gone because they didn't perform. And that's the excuse they're going to use. They're going to be like,
at the end of the day, they only care about money, and we've told you this repeatedly.
Yeah. So there we go. We're going to wrap this up.
Yes.
Another damn Snow White video, but not actually. We did.
Yes and no.
Stuff. Yes and no. So
hey,
anyway,
she's a fiery
please subscribe for
redhead.
more pop culture news, views, and rants.
Of course,
We'll
she's a
talk
power
later.
top.
Bye.
Yeah, it's unfortunately Hollywood has sacrificed so many legacy franchises on the altar of DEI, and they may not get them back. They simply they're probably not going to get them back because they sacrificed them on the altar of DEI. And that is something that Hollywood will have to live with. It means it means that they need to start actually creating new legacies. Like actual new legacies. Oh, like everything everything Disney related. Like Disney is literally banned all goodwill with every single franchise they own. They have burned it to the foundation. They have burned all the fans. Nobody trusts Disney with fucking everything right now. They do not trust Disney with a fucking thing. Warner Brothers and Paramount are really fucking close behind. Warner Brothers and Paramount are really fucking close behind with what they've done with their franchises. Like, Warner Brothers has not done DC favors. At all. So, honestly, it's time to let the OG rest. And it's time for these Hollywood companies to start coming up with creative new legacy franchises. Leave the OGs alone. You've killed it. Stop it. They're already dead. Universal's doing up. Yeah, Universal's probably the one company that's actually doing better than most, I would say. Disney for sure is at the bottom of the barrel. But leave the old IPs alone. Hollywood writ large needs to get the fuck away from the old IPs and leave it alone. Just leave it all the fuck alone. Start something new. Get away from the superheroes, get away from the comic book stuff for a while, and do some new IPs.